fun.
Action. We live.
The intro.
The intro.
This is Anthony Mason. You're watching Real Fan, Real Talk. Coming at you live from my house.
Face facts, what up? Real fans, realtalk.com. Where Arthur Diamonds, Trip Young, and intern Tom. For the white and black fans, Asia to Manhattan. I get all my facts from my bro, Mark the Stats Man. If you're not tuned in, I recommend the CAT scan. And if your brain checks out, then you deserve a backhand. Sports, gossip, all the hot topics. Real fans, realtalk.com got it. They got the hottest bloggers.
Did Jeremy Lin hurt?
Well, log onto the site and you can hear it from them first. I'm talking about the latest, I'm talking about the greatest. Go check out the archives, even tell a neighbor, tell them Bobby sent ya. From spring to winter, tuning in should be the only thing on your agenda. Certified cosign, you know what I'm about, son. Real fans, realtalk.com, I'm out one. Real fans, real talk, real fans, real talk. Real fans, realtalk.com. Real fans, realtalk.com. Real fans, real talk. Real fans, real talk. Real fans, realtalk.com. Real fans, realtalk.com.
And the winner is Real Fans, Real Talk.
Finally, Real Fans, Real Talk has come back to Brooklyn, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Mark the Statman Skevich, and welcome to the very first live episode of Real Fans, Real Talk in Brooklyn. And before I introduce my co-host, for those of you not familiar with the show, we started originally in the Crown Heights section of Brooklyn under a different show name, Internet Radio. Then we moved to AM Radio, 1460 AM in Westchester, then online on the Block Talk Radio Network. Then the award-winning live show came to BronxNet Television, and now finally we are here at the birthplace of every host on the show, Brooklyn, New York, for the first live episode. I'm very excited, but without further ado, let me introduce my co-host. First, to my left, the one and only Trip Young, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh man, what's going on? You know, it's so good to be back home, growing up. You know, a couple blocks away from the studio here, feels good. But I'm ready to get into the sports talk. We don't even got to go no further. Face facts, what up?
Yes. Since we in the building, Brooklyn, on the award, you forgot award-winning, critically acclaimed.
You right.
Real Fans, Real Talk. And without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let us get down to business.
All right, and Face Facts, a member of the radio show, finally joining us as well on the TV show. And the NFL is in full effect, ladies and gentlemen, and pretty much the Giants and Jets are doing what they always do. The Giants taking care of business, beating a competitive team in the Falcons, and the Jets just pretty much getting annihilated. It kind of reminds me of like back in high school, you had the varsity team and the freshman team. The Giants are pretty much like the freshman team, and the Jets are like the Giants are pretty much like the varsity team, and the Jets are pretty much like freshmen getting wedgies and getting abused because they pretty much got annihilated in San Diego. What do you think as far as Trip Young? Will we ever finally see Michael Vick starting with the Jets? What do you think, Trip?
Man, I don't know. I can't even call it with the Jets. I don't know what's going on with Rex Ryan. He's just all over the place. I know he's a very stubborn coach, so I know he's going to try to run with Geno Smith till the wheels fall off. And I don't really blame, Geno Smith fully, just because I know that the Jets' offensive line is horrible. And, they couldn't block a preschool kid. So, I definitely, think that, with the Jets, we're going to see Geno Smith for as long as we possibly can. Unless he gets injured or something like that, I think he's going to be starting. I don't think Michael Vick is going to be starting in New York, barring any major injuries.
What do you think, Face?
Well, I think that question answered itself on Sunday, right? When you pulled Geno from the game and then Michael Vick, nothing. There was no life. He didn't, for instance, with the Eagles situation, right? When Michael went out and then the backup came and the backup lit up fire, or with Washington, right? Backup comes in, lights it on fire to where there's a question of, well, should you put back in the starter? In this case, Michael Vick, nothing happened where we're going to say, all right, he needs to be the starter now. That didn't work out too good. He looked just as bad as anybody else out there on that
He kind
field.
of came in garbage time too, so I don't think that most of the team was really motivated at that point. The offensive line, they're pretty bad as it is, and they're even less motivated when they're getting blown out to block for Michael Vick. So, I mean, do you think that was a factor? Do you think we'll ever see him actually at least get a chance to start?
Nah, I'm with Trip Young on this one. Unless he gets hurt, that's not gonna happen because, I mean, still it's unfair to Geno. Like, let's go back to the beginning, right, where we have a new GM who Rex Ryan really isn't his guy, and they leave $30 million on the cap, right? All they brought in was Eric Decker. There's $30 million unspent money, and it's because of the politics, right? So now, who do we all look at? Rex Ryan on the hot seat, and now should we start Geno? Should we sit Geno? But it's not a fair situation to judge. Really, they're not. The organization itself is in shambles. It's not just on the field; it's off the field as well.
Both myself and you, actually, in the beginning of the season, felt that the Jets, with the addition of Chris Johnson and the Decker, like you mentioned, thought that there was going to actually be some life in the Jets. And now, 1-4, they're going to be playing the Broncos, and then after that, a team that's pretty much always has their way with them, and the Patriots with the division rival. I mean, do they even get to an 8-8 record? Like, where do you see the Jets finishing?
I mean, unless there's a miracle, I mean, their secondary is terrible, right? Like, you know, it's the proverbial, I could go out there and play corner for the New York Jets right now, and it wouldn't be any worse than what is actually happening on the field. So when you name the offenses that you just named in terms of what they're up against, like that, when do they win their first game? Like on paper, I can't see it in the near future.
Yeah, well, it's going to be more of the same, ladies and gentlemen. Jets getting annihilated and the Giants doing their thing. But let's get into some of the drama that's happening in the NFL. Adrian Peterson, he knows the spotlight's on him. He already has the child abuse case, and now he gets caught. I quote, "I smoked a little weed," admitting that he smoked weed, which is a violation of his bond. And I just don't get it. I mean, you know the spotlight is on you. You're in trouble as it is, and you're going to add fuel to the fire. Trip, what's going on with Adrian Peterson?
I mean, you know what he said? I'm in trouble with the law. I'm out of the league. I just need to get my mind right. So he said, you know, let me light a little joint up and just relax. But I mean, listen, man, the spotlight is on you. You know, AD, AP, whatever you want to call yourself these days. But you know, you're messing up, and you're going on a crazy downward spiral right now. So, you know, he gonna have to tighten up that ship now because, you know, the more trouble you get into, the harder it's gonna be for you to clear your name and, you know, and get out of the situation. I mean, it's already gonna be rough because, I mean, if you saw the pictures of Adrian Peterson's son and the welts and the marks that was left on his legs going into in the thigh, you know, it's kind of hits home for me because, you know, I work in the school system as well, and you know, being a mandated reporter, you know, they show us these pictures, and it's like it's crazy when you actually now then see it, and then there's somebody who, you know, who Adrian Peterson is one of my favorite players, and I know at the end of the day he's still human, you know, but come on, man, you got to take some accountability for your actions, and you can't be caught out there, you know, smoking a joint after all of this is going on. Like, seriously, Adrian, come on, what's up? What's going on with you?
And just last year, he dealt with the death of his son from his baby mama's boyfriend beating him to death, and he's violently abusing the other kid. I mean, the pictures of the injuries there, it was just unbelievable. And this is a guy who, you know, everyone had their hearts felt out to him just a year ago, and plus, on top of that, almost beating Eric Dickerson's rushing yard record, and then now this, and then throwing the weed on top of it. I just don't get it. I don't get it when any of these athletes, they know the spotlight is on them, they get warned, and then they screw up again. Face, what do you make of all this mess with Adrian Peterson?
I mean, what can I say that hasn't already been said? It's a situation where I like not being there. Like, I would like to know, like, how'd you get caught in that situation with everything that's going on, right? Like, I can't wrap my head around it. It's one of those things where you just shake your head. You know, you hope that he comes out on the other side because, like Trip Young said, he's still a man. Nobody's perfect. But, he's not making the best decisions right now, and
Now, is marijuana legal in Minnesota for medical use? Because I mean, I don't know if he has a prescription. I'm just saying.
Well, this is Texas too.
Oh, he was in.
right?
Oh, it wasn't
Yeah,
even in. Yeah,
Texas
see,
is where the
Texas. Yeah,
abuse
so
happened in Texas.
yeah. So I mean, listen, I can't speak for that man, Adrian Peterson. At this point, he gonna have to get his act together.
Definitely. Do you think that we'll see Adrian Peterson play again and play for the Vikings, play in the NFL at all this season or ever? What do you think, Trip?
I think he'll play in the NFL again. It won't be this season, you know, especially now that you adding more fuel onto the fire. We know how the NFL feels about its drug policy, and you know, especially now they've been cracking down on all of this domestic violence stuff. So you add the domestic violence up with the, you know, with the marijuana stuff. You know, he's pretty much done for the year. Will he play with the Vikings again? I mean, he's still, you know, the best running back in the league, maybe even the best player in the league. He still has some good years left in him, and I mean, he is the entire franchise, so it's quite possible. But I mean, the more trouble that he gets into, the less likely it's going to be that he plays for the Vikings again.
What do you think, Face?
I mean, I don't like to play, you know, leave my crystal ball under the blanket. We don't know what the court case is going to turn out. I mean, we all know the reaction to the pictures and how we all feel about it, but he still has to, you know, see his day in court. He may beat the case. Texas is a state where they don't look at corporal punishment like the way that a lot of other places look at corporal punishment, and he might beat the case, right? So then, off of reaction, like does a man lose his career off of outrage? I mean, I get that it's public. He's an entertainer, so but. It remains to be seen. It's going to be an interesting test case because, like Tripp said, he picked the wrong time for this to happen. Like in the context with all of that, he picked a bad time for this to all go down. I'll tell you that what.
Because he already has that, you know, the minimum anyway, 6-game suspension. Because technically, he hasn't been suspended yet. He's just on the exempt list. So he still has to come back and then be suspended. And he's not going to even come back to be suspended until all of this stuff is going on. Because, you know, his bail was revoked now and everything else is, you know, is going on. So it's still going to be some time. So it definitely won't be this season.
Yeah, a lot of people feel that this season is not a reality, and by the time he would come back, it would be the end of the year, and it would kind of be pointless at that point anyway because of how badly the Vikings are struggling without him. So I doubt he's going to come back this year as well.
So much for the career rushing record
Yeah,
that he was chasing. I think that's pretty much out of the picture at this point. You lose a 16-game season, and we don't know if he's going to lose games next year or what.
Plus, he was out, you know, with the injury before.
Yeah.
So I'm coming back from that injury, but obviously this is a whole different animal. We are a forgiving society. We saw Michael Vick come back, and there was public outrage with him. So I do think, especially because of the level of talent that Adrian Peterson has, that some NFL team is going to give him a shot to come back. It might not be the Vikings. They're already losing sponsors in the attempt to have him return. A few weeks back, we saw that. The sponsors leaving as soon as they even thought of putting him back in the lineup. But in other drama news, Colin Kaepernick is fined $10,000 for wearing Beats headphones. Like, what is that about?
They hating on my man Dr. Dre. He just, you know, he made it to that high plateau. So now they gotta hate. You know, they can't wear the Beats no more. They can't wear jeans. They can't do nothing. You gotta come in with a suit and tie to, you know, every game, every event. I mean, this one is just crazy, man, with the whole headphone situation.
So you can't listen to music when you're playing
No,
for the NFL?
you can
Like,
only
what
listen
is
to
that
the Monday
about?
Night
Like,
Football theme song.
Yeah, but even
that's the only thing you can
like,
listen to. And it has to be on NFL sanctioned headphones. That's it.
Does it got to be small ones like these, pretty much?
No, those
Like,
aren't
you
NFL
can't-
sanctioned, all right? You can't even show those right now, okay?
What do you make of this Beats headphones, $10,000 fine? Like, are you kidding me?
And what's crazy is that, you know, for the chop block that just happened, they fined the guy $8,000, right? So you care more about the branding and the partnership than this quote unquote, you know, that's kind of like saying you're finding LeBron for not drinking Gatorade on the sands, right?
Yeah.
Powerade. That's it. He has a contract with them.
Yeah.
Like, the corporate monster when it comes to sports, like we always like to kind of just focus on the game. But when you zoom out and you look at the corporate monster behind this thing, man, it's like that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous on the face of it. Imagine that your job told you can only wear a certain kind of headphones. Like, you would balk at the notion. Like, what do you mean? I'm gonna, I paid my money for these headphones. No, we're gonna fine you for that. What?
Should you put like an NFL sticker over the B logo? Would that be okay? Or maybe a
I don't
team
know.
like the
What's the
49ers? Like,
I don't think Dr. Dre would have problems since he already bought them. So I guess he's from that standpoint, it's good. So if he has to cover it up, I don't know. But that's just crazy. The NFL is just getting crazy. You know.
he should have Dr. Dre pay more than $10,000 for product
Yeah,
placement.
exactly.
Right.
If I was Dr. Dre, I would. I'd give him $100,000 just to still go out there and wear them.
Fun league.
Yep, hey, it is what it is. That's what it's coming to, man.
A lot of drama going on in the NFL, but face facts. I know you kind of boycott the MLB because the Yankees are not playing, but do you have an opinion at all on who you think is going to take the World Series this year?
As long as it's not the Cardinals. That's my only stance on it. I mean, before all of what happened, like, I'll get to that later, but in terms of, like, first of all, the Yankees aren't playing, so there's no playoffs to me, right? I don't watch a single MLB playoff game that the New York Yankees do not play in. But I got love for Buck Showalter because he was the manager of the Yankees right before we went on that dynasty run, and I always felt like, what if? Like Joe Torre, he benefited from Buck Showalter's hard work and labor. So I have a soft spot for the Orioles, but I still wouldn't watch a game. But besides the Orioles, not the Cardinals. Anybody but the Cardinals. They didn't show class in what the recent events in terms of, I don't know if you're aware of it, but outside the game, remember, because the Cardinals playing St. Louis, and what happened in Ferguson, there was protesters at the game. And there was a guy wearing a jersey that said, he put on the sticker on the back of it, "I am Darren Wilson." It's like, and there were people hurling, like, blatantly, not like, sometimes it's like, well, is that racist or is that not racist? Like, no, this is racist.
Yeah.
And the Cardinals did not put out a statement. They didn't say, our team doesn't associate ourselves with nothing. It was just like, that didn't happen. And until, the quote unquote, face facts is shining a spotlight on it, but until, the competition shines a light on it, it'll kind of just go under the rug. So anybody but the Cardinals. But if I had my choice, it would be the Orioles, Baltimore.
Yeah, I'm actually extremely impressed with Baltimore because to sweep Detroit with the pitching staff that they have, that was just...
Yeah.
I'm glad to see the Kansas City Royals are in it. It's good for Kansas City. They haven't had them in a playoff game since the '85 World Series, so they won their first series. That was impressive as well, beating the A's. But the most impressive thing thus far, definitely the Orioles with sweeping Detroit. If they could sweep Detroit with that pitching staff, I got to see them as the favorite. But what do you think, Tripp?
Well, first of all, because we had both, agreed that we were going to go for the Dodgers just because they were originally from Brooklyn and our Brooklyn bias just automatically would have supported them since the Yankees are not in it. But then as soon as we said that, they were eliminated immediately after that. So at this point, I don't even know where to go right now. I guess I'll just go with the consensus and go with Baltimore. Yeah. I'm a Ravens fan, so I'll just say, all right, I'll just rock out with with the Orioles. There you go.
I do gotta acknowledge one of our fans who wrote in, Joey from Hackensack, just wrote in, stop ragging on the Mets. The Yankees haven't won either, and only once in the past decade. And pretty much, Joey, what I gotta say to that is still a lot sooner than 1986. So, and a lot more than 2 rings. So I just wanted to acknowledge Joey for writing in there. We do appreciate the fan mail questions and comments.
Well, you know what, Hozo, because I have to address that because we hear people say, well, you weren't even alive for those, right? So my response to that is I was alive for 5, which is still more than any other team has and most teams have, period. So in that time since I was the ones I was alive for, that's still more than anybody else. So
yeah, and it's not like they didn't happen. So what? We weren't alive for them. 27 rings. You're gonna not count the Babe Ruth era and the Mickey Mantle, Joe DiMaggio area because I wasn't alive for that. It's a great franchise, and like you said, 5 titles in our lifetime.
Who else has 5? Since I'm 31. Who else has 5?
In that time frame, nobody.
In that time.
Listen, I know Mets fans who weren't born when the Mets last won the World Series.
Exactly.
And when they talk about the Yankees spending money and everything, the Mets spend a lot of money too.
Yeah, they're
and
always
don't
in the
even
top
make the
5 in
playoffs.
payroll. Yeah, they spend a lot and they don't make it.
I mean, we do rag on the Mets, but I mean, I am a Knicks fan, so I do understand the pain and the torture of going through that. I do feel your pain, Mets, but I mean, you just got to make fun of them. They're a laughing stock, just like the Jets. I'm sorry, that's just the reality. Our email address for those of you that want to write in is fanmail@realfansrealtalk.com. Our social media is facebook.com/realfansrealtalk, Twitter @realfantalk, so you can hit us up either by email or on social media, and we'll read the fan mail questions on the air. We do appreciate you guys writing in. We are live on BronxNet Television every Tuesday, 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and also broadcast live on realfansrealtalk.com. And now we are officially in Brooklyn every Thursday live from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to us on our YouTube channel, and we definitely appreciate our fans writing in. I'm going to take another fan mail question. Sammy from Brooklyn writes, how long do you guys think it will take for the Knicks to adjust to the triangle offense? Well, they just got abused by the Boston Celtics yesterday in preseason. I think it's going to take at least 3 months into the season before they're comfortable. I'm being realistic here. Amari Stoudemire claims that he's back to top form.
What's top form?
He did look pretty good last year, but he just didn't.
That's top form for him now.
I mean, if he could play, 60 games out of the season, I'll be happy with that, I think. But
as long as he's walking, you're good, right?
But getting back to Sammy's question, I threw out. See, I'm a Knicks fan. I know what you Mets and Jets fans have to deal with. You see what I have to deal with here? But back to Sammy's question, though. What do you think, Trip?
I'm sorry. First of all, Sammy, Brooklyn is always going to be in the heart. But I don't dislike the Knicks. I'm not really a fan of the Knicks, but it's always fun when basketball season comes around because I know how much of a fan of the Knicks Statman is and how much of a LeBron hater he is. So it gives me great pleasure when I get to rub it in, the poor play of the New York Knickerbockers. But as far as your question goes, Sammy, I would say give them a couple of months before they get it, because everybody has to kind of buy into the system. I mean, Derek Fisher, he still has to adjust to coaching and being on that side of things. But I mean, I think that the Knicks do have the right pieces in play, and them not having a great point guard won't hurt them in this situation, because most of the triangle offenses that Phil's run, there hasn't been a great point guard running the system. It's usually been a great two guard and maybe a really good big man. So, maybe it'll work out for the Knicks from that standpoint. But give them a couple of months, see how it goes. I still don't see them finishing higher than 6th though in the Eastern Conference, but I'll give them that.
I'll take.
They got the Zen master out there. So.
I'll take 6th. Actually, I'd be happy with that. It's better than not making the playoffs at all. But face facts, what do you think of Sammy's question?
Well, I mean, first of all, you can't read too much into a preseason game. The starters didn't really play heavy minutes before the game kind of got out of hand. They were looking good. Like, it wasn't a start to finish debacle. But and I also want to push back on the idea, like right now, Jose Calderon is the best Knicks point guard
they've had in 30 years.
I won't say 30. Shout out to Mark Jackson.
But that was about 30 years ago, wasn't it?
But he in the long. I mean, he's
Marbury played.
Oh yeah, Stephon Marbury.
I guess before he started eating Vaseline and whatnot. But
But it's been
if he wasn't benched for politics.
But I mean, that's about 10 years ago, even right? Like, but yeah, in a long time, Jose Calderon, he's not he's not like top tier. Yeah. But he's he's an upgrade from Prigioni, from Fat Boy Felton, from Old Man Kid, he's a solid, he's a serviceable C player as opposed to, what they've had before.
But in that system, it'll work.
Yeah, and in terms of a time frame, I mean, again, they play in the East, the quote unquote Eastern Conference. Most of I think that they'll that 6th seed, like, because that's more than I was giving them at the end of last season, right? So if they get that 6th seed from not making the playoffs, then that's a pretty good run for them. But a time frame, like, I can't give it the between by Christmas break, they should have the hang of it. Put it that way.
Now, if they're not winning after that, then it just sucks. That man, I'm sorry.
Well,
But they're the Knicks, so that one.
it's not like I won't be used to it.
Yeah, well, at least but I know it's not.
I'm
gonna be
always
fun for you to
confident
talk
in the
that-
Knicks.
talk
I
basketball.
always,
No.
keep my hopes up. I mean,
Yeah.
but
You do. Now, I will say that no matter how bad it is, no matter how much they lose,
It's always
you
next
will
season.
ride or die with the Knicks. You will make the dumbest bets on the behalf of the Knicks. I will say that you are a great Knicks fan, Stat man.
well, shot for shot bets. I don't
Oh, no, yeah,
bet
that-
with your
that-
head,
like,
not with your
yeah.
hate. I always say, and
I mean,
not
I'm
with
usually
your
able to
heart
finagle
either.
him into a shot for shot bet though.
Yeah, bet with your head, not with your hate or your heart, ladies and gentlemen. But I don't gamble on sports, but we do put some shot-for-shot points up there. But, I mean, the East is a lot tougher this year. I mean, you have the Cavaliers, obviously, with a future dynasty now with LeBron James, Kevin Love, and Kyrie Irving. You have Pau Gasol joining the Bulls, Derrick Rose coming back finally, and the Bulls, even without Rose and Gasol, were a contender, like a top 5 team. And now with Rose back and Gasol, that's going to be a force to be reckoned with. You can't discount the Pacers, even though they've lost Lance Stevenson. The Heat, even though they lost LeBron James, they're still going to be up there.
I think you can't kind of discount the Pacers at this point.
The Wizards too. They pretty much showed large signs of life last year. They got a pretty good roster, pretty good player in every position. So. It's definitely going to be an interesting season. I'm glad that basketball is back, even though it's preseason. But we have some suspensions already handed out, and
a couple of players in the Nate include. I'm upset about the Nate because he's a seasoned vet. He should know better than that. Came off the bench. There was a little scuffle between Paul Pierce and Joakim Noah, who always seems to be at the center of some kind of issue on the court. But the truth is not going to back down from anybody. He got into a little preseason scuffle with LeBron last preseason, so I guess he's keeping up with the old man tradition, and he wanted to set the tone, for the Wizards early. But yeah, a couple of guys ran onto the court, so they're gonna miss a little bit of game action. But I mean, I like the toughness. I like the fact that those guys are kind of going at it, and it makes for a better storyline during the season because I mean, we're talking about two of the better teams in the Eastern Conference this season, the Wizards and the Bulls. We're talking about two top 5 teams in the Eastern Conference, so that's going to make for a great storyline. They got 4 games versus each other this season, and then they could possibly see each other again in the playoffs. So I'm looking forward to that little mini rivalry.
All right, there you have it. Once again, reminding all of you, we are live in Brooklyn every Thursday, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. We also air on BronxNet Television for you Bronx residents watching on YouTube and also archived on BronxNet. We are live every Tuesday, 5:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Check us out on the web, realfansrealtalk.com, and our social media, facebook.com/realfansrealtalk, Twitter @realfantalk. And we also have a Facebook group page where we discuss different sports topics daily. Just search Real Fans Real Talk on Facebook and request to become a member of the group. We're going to take one more fan mail question going back to baseball. Rich from the Bronx writes, how disappointing was Albert Pujols in this year's playoffs? Well, not too disappointing for Face because he doesn't want, number one, he doesn't want, he boycotts with the Yankees, but at the same time, he doesn't want the Cardinals. Well, the Angels got eliminated, and he doesn't want the Cardinals to win, his former team. But as Trip Young's mentioned on this past Tuesday's episode in the Bronx, I mean, he was a guy that had the potential of being the league's franchise player now that Jeter's retired. But, I mean, if you can't come through in the playoffs, then obviously he's not going to be Mr. October like Derek Jeter was.
Everybody can't be the captain. They can't be Captain Clutch. They can't get 5 World Series championships. He can't be the face of baseball. It's just not in everybody. I thought it was in Albert Pujols. He had it a little bit, but it's just like ever since he left St. Louis, it just has not been the same. And this playoffs, he was 1 for 4 in one game. He, just like I don't know what he was doing out there. He was just lost. And if you're supposed to be the best player on your team, you have to be the one to set the tone for everything else that's going on. But I just thought for Albert Pujols, it was a horrible series. Maybe for a bottom tier guy that might have been great, but for him, it was just horrible. And like I said, with that whole Derek Jeter thing, like he was a guy who potentially, not now that Jeter just retired, but maybe 3-4 years could have been the face of baseball if he actually continued to perform on the level that he was performing when he was in St. Louis. But it's just like he got his ring, he got his $200 million, and then it just hasn't been the same. So but this is hard to beat Derek Jeter. Those are some tough cleats to fill. It's going to take a great player to fill Derek Jeter's shoes, because of not only was he one of the greatest players on the field, but off the field, he's truly a class act. Somebody who just was not in any kind of trouble, no steroids, none of these, domestic situations, just nothing. It's just truly a class act, with Derek Jeter. You got to love that. But I don't know, maybe Albert Pujols will get it back, but he's not going to be that. He's not going to be that face. Maybe somebody who could do it, if he continues to improve, is his teammate Mike Trout. Could possibly, maybe 10 years from now. But right now, it's going to be a while before we see someone who just takes the face of baseball and embraces it the way that Derek Jeter did.
All right. Well, with that being said, I know, Face, you got no comment with that because boycotting the playoffs without the Yankees being there, but it is about that time for shot, ladies and gentlemen. The way shot for shot works is we ask a series of 5 questions, 1 judge, 2 contestants. I will be the judge, and I will be putting on the official referee uniform for this bout.
There's no Beats by Dre stamps on there, because we're not going to be able to wear that.
We don't give no free product placement.
I don't want you to get fined for, on the first day in Brooklyn.
None of that.
No logos.
We do have the NFL logo, but it's covered up by my helmet, so that's fine.
That's right.
All right, so the way it works, we ask a series of 5 questions, 1 judge, 2 contestants. Whoever the judge agrees with gets the point. If both contestants agree, no point is awarded. And now we know we've had several guests referee and feel that it gets a little boring when both contestants agree, but we feel that it's the only fair way to do things. We don't give out 15 points for one line like some other TV shows do. But with that being said, starting with question number 1, will Geno Smith ever be a top 15 quarterback? And Face Facts, your first TV appearance in Shot for Shot. You've done a pretty good job on the radio show every Sunday at 7:30, but we're going to start off with you on this one as the challenger, going up against Trip Young. What do you think?
No way. That's not going to be a thing, right? His best case scenario is Alex Smith, right? Like if he could be, not a great quarterback, but a solid quarterback.
That doesn't make mistakes.
Right, that doesn't make mistakes. The complete opposite of what he's doing right now, actually, even though it's not all his fault. But top 15, like I don't. That's not never in his lifetime.
You were pretty high on Geno Smith going into the season, though.
I still like him for the Jets, right? Like when you look at this situation, he doesn't have.
He fits right in. Losing quarterback, losing team.
No, again, if he had more help, he'd play better. But I just don't think he's the problem with the Jets. Is all. Like people, as soon as something goes wrong, they're calling for Michael Vick. Michael Vick can't fix what's wrong with the Jets. What's wrong with the Jets? So yes, I like Geno Smith, but top 15 now. That means he's in the same conversation with Cam Newton, right? Like we didn't even talk about the Tom Brady's or the Peyton Manning's or the are you willing to put Geno Smith in the same conversation as? I'm glad you don't have the button, but your Manning, Eli, Geno's not going to be in the same conversation with that guy. So how can he be top 15?
Yeah, I would say if you brought it down to like, is he ever going to be a top 25 quarterback? Then, you know, we might have a difference of opinion, but I'm going to have to agree with Face Facts on this one. And, you know, again, it's not even all Geno. First of all, Geno signed to the Rock, so, you know, shout out to him for that, you know, repping with the home team, you know, Jay-Z, Brooklyn, and all of that. But outside of that, you know, the Jets are just horrible. They don't have an offensive line, you know, to protect anybody, which, you know, like you said earlier, Face, I mean, they got all that money. They should have went out and got some linemen to protect somebody, but you know, he has no time to do anything. And then he's just not that caliber of a quarterback on top of that who's going to be able to make plays, you know, in spite of his offensive line being so horrible.
He's no Aaron Rodgers.
Exactly. You know, so I got to agree with you on that one, Face.
All right, next question. Over or under 5th place finish for the Knicks this season? 5th place in the East.
I love these questions. But you know how I feel about that already. I said it
we
earlier
go.
in the show. No, I said they're not going to be, you know, getting past the 6th seed. The Knicks just need to be thankful to the heavens if they make the playoffs at all. But no, they will not be higher than the 6th seed.
What do you think, Face?
Yeah, no, that's not happening. I mean, just in their division, their best case scenario was 3rd place, right? Because they're not better than the Nets, and they're not better than the Raptors, right? So
Especially
there,
since they kept Kyle Lowry.
exactly. So right there, you know, in order to be top 4, you have to win the division, and then if we're talking top 5, you have to at least be 2nd place in your division, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to be 3rd place in your division, top 5 is just not a realistic. That's not happening for the Knicks, not this year.
All right, still in agreement, still 0-0. Hopefully
Statman,
we'll
what would you
get
have
some.
said to that one? I just want to know what's your response.
No comment.
No comment. Yeah, keep it real.
You
Statman
guys,
has
you
the Knicks
guys
finishing
agreed.
first
So.
every year. So.
I don't actually have them finishing first. I am a realistic person. I did say I'd be happy with 6th, and I think, you know, is a good possibility. No, they're finishing first.
Yeah, why
the
not?
triangle's there, the Zen Master's there. Knicks are taking it all this year. That's it. Anyway, moving along. Over under 30% chance the Lakers make it back to the playoffs this season. Kobe Bryant returning from injury. What do you think? First, Face Facts. What's your thoughts?
Playoffs for the Lakers in the Western Conference. Maybe if we haven't adopted a team for the conference, like if we let them be honorary Eastern Conference members, then maybe. But
I don't even think they would make the playoffs if they were in the Eastern Conference, to be honest with you.
I mean, you never know. I mean, you got the Sixers trying to lose. You got the Celtics trying to lose.
Those aren't playoff teams, though, in the East.
Right, but they're not the only teams trying to lose, right? Like
that's true. You
they
still got the
could
Bucks.
get an 8th seed in the East just by default, but in the West, where you need 50 games and you can still miss the playoffs in the West.
Yeah.
No, man, no, sir, Kobe Bryant. You better get used to that fishing or whatever you was doing.
Well,
in
it's
the
not
off
fishing. It's
season.
only fishing if you make the playoffs and get bumped. It's not if you don't even make the playoffs, then it's not even fishing.
So what's that? The ticket to Aruba then? Yeah,
yeah.
but
Your sail didn't even hit the water yet.
so yeah, I'll take the under on that.
I'm gonna have to go with the under on that one too, man. I just don't think Kobe. You know, listen, he had a great career. You cannot take that away from him. But how does the song go? When it's your time to go, you go. And that's it. I don't think Swaggy P and old Carlos Boozer is enough to get them over the hump.
Even though Julius Randle is looking
I was
good.
gonna say I do think that they got a really good pick. Was at 9th in Julius Randle because I think that he is going to be really good in the league, but I just don't think he's good enough with those guys. You know, no Gasol anymore this year. It's just Kobe and Swaggy P.
The thrill is gone.
A little love fest going on here in agreement. It's still tied 0-0. I'm not sure if we're going to have any. I'm looking at these questions. I'm not sure if we're going to have any. We might have to go to overtime. But barring injury, will Michael Vick start a game this season?
I mean, we already said that earlier. You know, we got to. No, man, I don't think so. It's just Rex is just a stubborn guy, and not only that, it's not even really like I can say it's just all Geno's fault. And if you take Geno out and put Vic in, the Jets would be doing better because it's just not the case. They don't have an offensive line. You know, Eric Decker was an amazing pickup at wide receiver for them, but he's been banged up. I mean, who's their number 2 guy? You know, Chris Johnson, who I've been saying for, since last season, he's not in that elite club anymore. He couldn't even hold on to the starting job. You got Chris Ivory, starting at running back for the Jets right now. So, the offense is just terrible right now. But, so I can't even blame Gino all the way for that. But, no, Rex is just a stubborn guy. And he's gonna ride it out until the wheels fall off with Gino. Simple as that, unless he gets hurt.
Yeah, I was trying to sit here and think of a way to disagree with that, but I mean it's the fact that Rex knows he's out of there. Again, the GM, he's not that guy. Like, he wants to bring in his coach. Rex knows he's out of there, and there's no reason for him to try to save his bacon by putting in Mike Vick, especially when, Mike Vick is not gonna fix what ails the New York Jets. I was trying to think of something, but I got nothing. It's not happening.
And that's my guy, Michael Vick. I would love to see Michael Vick starting for the Jets, for whoever, but it's just not gonna happen. Rex is just too stubborn for that.
Yeah, I mean, the next couple of weeks, they're pretty much going to get annihilated no matter who the quarterback is. With the Broncos and the
Then
Patriots,
they got the Bills in 3 weeks. That's when they'll have a chance.
I mean, maybe they'll put Vic in at that point because, I mean, the fans are all calling for him. But I'm thinking 3 weeks from now, Gino's going to get annihilated the next 2 games. And then maybe they'll put Vic in to try to salvage the season. They'll be 1-6 at that point. But I don't know. I mean, both in agreement there, though. So moving along to question number 5, unless we go to overtime. Over or under 40% chance the Giants have the lead in the NFC East after this Sunday. This Sunday they'll be playing the Eagles with a victory. They will have the tiebreaker with both the Eagles and the Cowgirls. The Cowgirls have a tough matchup ahead of them this week. So starting with you, Face, what do you think?
Ooh. They got to win, right? They got to win. And so the question becomes, do I think they're going to win?
They have to win and the Cowgirls have to lose as well. So.
Right. That's a tough one. That Eagles game is not going to be easy. But 40%, I'll take the over on that. I think the Eagles' offensive line is questionable right now, and the Giants' pass rush has been real official. Like, there's no other way of saying they've been getting to the quarterback.
The secondary's been doing a lot better too.
Yeah, so I mean, the only way the Eagles win that game is if the Giants kind of do what they did, where they shot themselves in the foot. I forget what game it was.
The Cardinals.
The Cardinals, right? So with the special teams, fumbles,
fumble
things
from Jennings.
right? Like, so if they give it up on the other end, like if they shoot themselves in the foot, I'm not saying like they can. Like, but I think that the Giants' defense can get to Foles and put a hurting on him, and their offensive line hasn't been giving Shady McCoy any room to run as it is, right? So I think the Giants can take advantage of that. 40%, yeah, 40%. I'll take that bet. I'll take that.
All right, Trippier.
I gotta agree, man. Listen, first of all, we gonna knock the Cowgirls out of the box completely because they got to go on the road to Seattle to play Seattle. That's not happening. So, we can knock them out because they're going to lose. They're not going to Seattle and winning. So now it's just whether or not the Giants can beat the Eagles. I mean, we saw, Kirk Cousins come in and put up 427 yards passing on that Eagles secondary. And then look what happened the following week. He played the Giants and 4 interceptions. So if every 100 yards he threw an interception against the Giants. So, I think that Eli now having Odell Beckham Jr. back to go along with Victor Cruz, who has finally got his hands together and is not dropping passes like he was, and Ruben Randall out there, the speed of Odell Beckham Jr. and Victor Cruz is going to be problems for that Eagles secondary. And the Giants defense has been getting stronger every week. They are going to have a field day, so I got to agree. I got to go with the over on that one.
All right, love fest all across the board. We got to come up with an overtime question here. Before we do, though, I'm a little bit worried because of the Jennings injury, but I think the Giants will still.
Joe Williams can carry it a little. He's been doing very well for them.
But it was kind of a 1-2 punch, though. I mean, but at the same time, the running game kind of takes some of the pressure off of Eli. I have Eli starting in all 3 of my fantasy teams because the Eagles have given the most touchdowns up to receivers, and I think Eli is going to have a field day with the Eagles. So. Definitely looking forward to that division rivalry. Obviously, I'm not going to disagree with you guys going with the Giants to go right back on top of the NFC East where they belong. Now for the overtime question, Peyton Manning just got his 13th 400-plus yard passing game. Over or under 5 more 400-yard games for Peyton Manning before his career is done?
For his career or the season? Because I mean, for his career, I definitely got to go with the over on that. I mean,
he has 13 in his career now, as it is.
He's not
throughout his whole career.
He's not. I don't think he's gonna retire. He's not retiring this season. I mean, he can definitely put up another 400-yard game against the Jets this coming week. So that should take care of one of those games right there. So I'm gonna say yes, man. I mean, it's Peyton. When we talking about Peyton regular season Peyton, we're not talking about the playoffs Peyton. We're talking about regular season Peyton. Peyton in the regular season can do all, and he can do no wrong. So I'm gonna say over on that one.
All right, Face.
Man, I'm gonna have to take the under on that 5. When you said 13 for his career, like that puts it in perspective. That as great as he's been for as long as he's been, if he's only done it 13 times, and now you're talking about 5 more, what's he gonna play like this year and maybe next year, and then like, you get what I mean?
No,
like
it's a passer friendly league now. Back in a lot of them, like 10 of them, 10 to 13 years, it was not a quarterback friendly league like it has been the past 4 years.
But even that being said, like how many did he get last season? How many, he got another one this season, and he probably will get one from the Jets.
I think he had 3 last season because he had won the first game of the season and he had like 2 more.
So that's
on.
3 out of 16, right? Like that, it's still not that easy. So I'm gonna respect that fact, and so as much as Peyton is my dude, I even take umbrage. You say regular season Peyton as
that's just facts. There's a difference between
if Vinatieri did not play for the Patriots, Tom Brady wouldn't have some of those rings.
Sherman called him out to his face and said you throw a lot of lame ducks, Peyton, and went to the Super Bowl and shut that man down.
Richard Sherman is a monster. That's a whole nother question. But in terms of,
I'm just saying, but that's the difference between regular season Peyton and playoff Peyton.
When's the last time Tom Brady's won anything?
We're not talking about Tom Brady.
But no, I'm just saying that to say it's
though.
not easy to win. And again, a lot of those games, he put his team in position to win. And if the kicker makes a kick.
You realize that in the last 2 playoff losses he had, he threw 2 pick sixes?
Richard Sherman's a monster. I'm not going to argue.
Now turned into a Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning
that was this year.
debate.
The year before that, they lost 2.
I'm going to let it
They
go.
lost to the Ravens the year before that. He threw a pick 6.
I'm going to let it go. I take the under.
I got to go with Trip Young on this one. A lot of those 400-yard games were in the past couple of years because it is a passing league now. Even if he only gets 3 per year, he's 3 more this year and 3 more next year, that's over 5. And I think he could do at least 3 a year.
Well, I tell you, he's going to get his first one. Well, second one this season is going to come this
he's going to get one against the Jets.
That's going to happen. So listen, you got
But they might be up like 40-0 by the 4th quarter, and he might be
maybe they might
But he might still also have 400 within 3 quarters.
Somebody got 78 points in fantasy football last week with Peyton Manning, okay, because of that game we had. And now we're talking about him going into a game against the Jets that have no secondary whatsoever. He's going to have a field. He might have 400 yards by the end of the second quarter. Then they could just bench him for the second half, and it won't even matter because they already have his 400 yards. Yeah. But in any event, I will take my W. You know what? Which is so crazy.
A monumental moment here, Trip Young. First ever shot for shot in Brooklyn.
And I was also the first ever shot for shot winner when we went live in the Bronx. But it feels so much better right now because I'm at home in Brooklyn. Like I said, I'm 5 blocks away. I live 5 blocks, right on Cumberland Street. That's my home. So it feels good to get that first W in Brooklyn. I'm going to dedicate this to Fort Greene and all my family and my friends in Fort Greene. Thank y'all for having me back, man. Oh, it's so good. Oh, and to my wifey, boo, Serena, I love you, baby.
All right. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Well, since you're giving shout-outs, I do want to say, it's my brother's birthday yesterday, my father's birthday tomorrow, so happy birthday, Robert, and happy birthday, Papa Skevich.
That's right. Happy birthday, Papa Skevich. That's an OG. I better recognize who you're dealing with. That's an OG right there, Papa Skevich.
This is true. All right, and now it's time for This Day in Sports History. And this day in 1909, Ty Cobb steals home in the World Series. Pretty hard to do as it is to steal home, and then you do it in the World Series too. That's crazy.
You got. I'm gonna take this one. I saved the last one for you, Face. 'Cause I know you're gonna enjoy that one. In 1915, Woodrow Wilson becomes the first president to attend a World Series game.
Wasn't that one of the ones where the bets was fixed and all that? Like,
I mean, listen, I don't know. I'm just saying that he attended the game. I don't know what was going on with the
Black
bets.
Sox,
I wasn't there. I can neither confirm nor deny that. I wasn't
Woodrow
there.
Wilson was getting his money, man, collecting his bets. Nah, I don't know.
Listen, that's the word, might be the word around the campfire, but like I said, I can neither confirm nor deny that, so I'm just not gonna speak on it.
And then this is the last one that I take great pleasure in. In 1928, the New York Yankees completed a sweep of the Cars in the 25th World Series. The Babe, the great Bambino, hits 3 home runs in the game.
Sultan of SWAT.
Sultan of SWAT, yes. I enjoy that. Extra special right now. Anybody but the Cards. Anybody but the
man
Cards.
who caused the Red Sox to go 86 straight years without a championship because of the curse of the great Bambino.
That's what they say. That's what they say.
I mean, you're gonna trade the Bambino? Like, I mean, that's.
Well, listen, for Cracker Jacks and peanuts and stuff. But you know, it is what it is, man. I'm not mad because we got a lot of championships, because of that, and the Red Sox lost a lot. So I always love that.
I'm not arguing with that. Definitely loving that as well. So just reminding you guys, we are live here on BPN, Brooklyn Public Network. We are live every Thursday, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We also air live on BronxNet Television. For those Bronx residents watching us on Verizon, we air live every Tuesday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on BronxNet Television, and also archived on YouTube and RealFansRealTalk.com. Our social media, Facebook.com/RealFansRealTalk. Click that like button. We put some funny memes up there. We put reminders of when the show is going on the air, as well as different sports stories. Definitely worth clicking that like button. Also, follow us on Twitter @RealFanTalk. And our individual Twitter handles and contact information is on our website, RealFansRealTalk.com. Make sure you check that out. Now, I'm not sure if I care anymore because this is something that's been kind of dwelling for so many years, but Floyd Mayweather Sr. says that the Pacquiao fight will happen. Now, this is his dad saying that it's going to happen, but, I mean, we've heard this before, that it was going to happen, and
I won't believe it until the bell goes ding, ding, and I see Mayweather charging at Pacquiao and Pacquiao charging at Mayweather.
Do you think that
I don't know.
Before the bell rings, like there was a possibility of him canceling, like they're walking down the aisle, they have a little argument and say, "Nah, I'm not fighting him."
That's how I feel about this fight. So I'm not going there unless I see them going. When I see the first punch thrown, because if they quit after that, whoever got the first punch in wins. Then I'm good. But if I don't see that, I don't want to hear nothing else about this. I don't care if Floyd Mayweather Jr. said it, Senior said it, Bob the Builder said it, whoever said it. I don't care until I see them in the ring. That's how I feel about it, and that's final.
All right. I mean, I've been saying that, the way this fight is going to happen, it's going to be like in a old folks' home. It's going to be like in grudge match. I'm going to be like Kevin Hart and try to organize it, try to make some money off of it.
You have been trying to put it together for some years now.
No, but it's really going to happen in the old folks' home. Yeah. They're going to probably, and they're worried about millions of dollars now, but they'll probably argue about extra medication or
it don't make no sense what's going on with this
so whatever they're going to do.
It's not going to happen.
They're going to walk up to each other in the walkers, and it's going to be live on nothing because it's just going to be tickets at the old folks' home. But face facts, I mean, it's been going on for years. I mean, I'm sick of hearing it. Whether it happens or not, I'm not sure if I care anymore. What do you think?
Well, I mean, if the fight happens, I'll watch it, right? Like, I watch every other boxing match that's worth watching. I mean, it's one of those things where I'm not going to, like Trip Young pretty much hit it on the head, I'm not going to invest any energy in it until there's a fight happening. But
so I see the Mayweather shoulder. When I see that Mayweather shoulder when I see that, then I'm gonna be invested in it.
Yeah, this is kind of like a WWE thing now, right? Like
brother. Oh yeah, I'm gonna fight you, Pacquiao.
Right. Like with a lot of promos, a lot of talking and back and forth there on Twitter and all that.
Macho Man Hogan.
I mean, listen,
Yeah, so until papers are signed and they in the ring, I'm going to watch it no matter what. People are going to be disappointed no matter what. They're going to say that it happened. So unless Pacquiao knocks out Floyd, when Floyd eventually wins that fight, they're like, oh, well, if it would have happened back then.
5 years ago when they first
then
talked about it,
it
Pacquiao
would,
would've won.
so it's just one of those things. It's an urban legend that's a myth that's going to be.
Yep.
Yeah.
Floyd is going to have haters regardless of whatever the situation is, because like you said, even if he wins and he finally beats Pacquiao like everyone wants him to take that fight, it's still not going to matter, because like you said, they're going to say, oh, well, he should have fought them years ago when Pacquiao was in his prime, because now obviously Pacquiao got the loss last year against Marquez.
You mean when he got planked?
Yeah, I mean, those memes were funny, though. You see him laid out on the beach. You see him in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out.
This is bad, man. That was
all
just bad.
over the place.
I
But
mean, this is a situation where no one's ever going to be happy watching a Floyd Mayweather fight unless Floyd Mayweather loses. People watch him fight to see him lose.
Yeah, to see if he's going to lose.
So
who's going to be the guy?
Every time he wins, then somebody's going to be upset. And unless he loses, nobody's going to be happy with the outcome of that fight. So it is what it is.
Well, I don't think it's going to be next May if it does happen, because they're already talking about it being Amir Khan. So unless, something drastic happens between, now and then, it's not going to happen in May. And we know that's usually the big fights with Mayweather out of the two. But, it is what it is, man. It's Mayweather, Pacquiao. I mean, at this point, who cares?
it's pretty draining talking about it constantly. And you mentioned once on the radio show Face. By the way, the radio show airs every Sunday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Blog Talk Radio Network, also archived on realfansrealtalk.com. You were mentioning, I lost my train of thought, ladies and gentlemen. We are live here in Brooklyn.
Yes, sir.
But moving along in other boxing news, Alvarez pulls out of his fight with Clottey. I mean,
first of all, don't nobody want to see that fight either.
Yeah, nobody wants to see that.
No disrespect to Joshua Clottey. Alvarez,
no disrespect to Joshua Clottey.
Alvarez is, still one of the biggest names in boxing. He's one of the best up and coming fighters. But I'm tired of him taking these chip shot fights. I know Mayweather beat the brakes off of that boy, but that's Mayweather. You can't be discouraged by that. I mean, he came off of a great win over Austin, no doubt, Trout.
Great.
Great. But
we throwing that word.
He is. He's one of the best up and coming fighters.
He's overrated
right now.
He fights.
But I gotta see
puffs
him.
And then
I gotta see him fight somebody with a name. I really wanted him to fight Miguel Cotto. I thought that would have been a great fight for both of those guys. But taking the Joshua Clottey, just like Joshua Clottey hasn't even been relevant, in the past 2 years. So him pulling out an ankle injury, it is what it is. I'm not gonna really care about Alvarez until he fights another big name.
All right. And speaking of big names, that thing that I was going to mention, you were saying that people pay for Mayweather to see him lose, and you know what you're going to get out of it, so don't be disappointed when you pay that pay-per-view. You mentioned that on the radio show. But with that being said, it's about time to wrap things up. Thank you for joining us for this epic first live episode in Brooklyn. I'm Mark the Statman Skevich. And for Face Facts and Trip Young, we'll see you next week, same exact time. If you smell what the Stat Man is cooking, I'm not going to do the rock notions every week, just for the first one. So with that being said, thank you all for joining us, and have a good night, everyone.
Brooklyn, stand up.
And that's
Face Facts, what up? RealFansRealTalk.com, where Arthur Diamonds, Trip Young, and intern Tom. For the white and black fans, Asia to Manhattan. I get all my facts from my bro Mark the Stats Man. If you're not tuned in, I recommend the CAT scan. And if your brain checks out, then you deserve a backhand. Sports, gossip, all the hot topics. RealFansRealTalk.com got it. They got the hottest bloggers.
Is Jeremy Lin hurt?
Well, log onto the site and you can hear it from them first. I'm talking about the latest. I'm talking about the greatest. Go check out the archives. Even tell a neighbor. Tell them Bobby sent ya. From spring to winter, tuning in should be the only thing on your agenda. Certified cosign, you know what I'm about, son. RealFansRealTalk.com. I'm out one. Real fans, real talk. Real fans, real talk. RealFansRealTalk.com. RealFansRealTalk.com. Real fans, real talk. Real fans, real talk.
Face Facts, what up?
realfansrealtalk.com, where Arthur Diamonds, Trip Young, and intern Tom. For the white and black fans, Asia to Manhattan, I get all my facts from my bro Mark the Stats Man. If you're not tuned in, I recommend the CAT scan. And if your brain checks out, then you deserve a backhand. Sports, gossip, all the hot topics. Realfansrealtalk.com got it. They got the hottest bloggers.
Is Jeremy Lin hurt?
Well, log onto the site and you can hear it from them first. I'm talking about the latest, I'm talking about the greatest. Go check out the archives, even tell a neighbor, tell them Bobby sent ya. From spring to winter, tuning in should be the only thing on your agenda. Certified cosign, you know what I'm about, son. Realfansrealtalk.com, I'm out one. Real fans, real talk, real fans, real talk. Realfansrealtalk.com, realfansrealtalk.com. Real fans, real talk, real fans, real talk, realfansrealtalk.com, realfansrealtalk.com.